Hello there. Today, I thought I would do this. This is a glorious Sierra game that was developed and released by the company called Sierra back in 1991. This is a sequel to Mixed Up Mother Goose, which was released, I want to say, if I remember correctly, back in 1987, and also got a DOS release eventually not long after that. This is the sequel called Mixed Up Fairy Tales, and the premise of this is actually rather simple. I am here at the Spell Your Name. This is going to be the second screen that you see when you start this game. The first is going to be load saved game or a new game. And before we dive any further into the tutorial, for the moment being, I go by Linux Mint on Twitch. I am the current world record holder for this game and have been over the last 9 years or so, probably closer to 10 if you can believe it. My inspiration for running this game is really quite simple. There's not really much of a story to it. This is a game that me and my family grew up playing. My siblings grew up playing, really, and this is a game that we just fell in love with over the years, and no one else really has any guides for it up as far as I can remember, and I thought I would take the liberty of doing runs of the game, really learning the game, learning the mechanics of how it works, what I can do, and I figured, let's add it to my resume of runs I've done before. So, we're going to go ahead and press play here. And a side note real quick, before we get started, I'm running this on scummvm, and I want to thank my buddy Carlos for getting this to run and work on scummvm, not only on mobile, but also on PC in general as well. The name can be literally anything you want, whatever you want, because the name of the character does not dictate the RNG of the drops, and we will go over these as I dive deeper into the game itself. There we go. That's probably not on. There we go. I'm gonna go slow here and let you all look at the dialogue and read it, basically. We are in the library getting ready to check out a book, but this book drops, and this is the book of, believe it or not, pretty much Mixed Up Fairy Tales, as is the name of the game itself. I like how Bookworm here says almost everyone here needs your help. It's really everyone that actually does. And I'll go over the top here in just a moment. Alright, let's go to town real quick. Okay, we have a sign here that tells us which direction we need to go in. So first, we're gonna go to town. But before we head to town, however, I would like to go over these commands here at the top menu. Past Sierra games had kind of a more complex list of things or commands that you could kind of access. Whereas yet in Mixed Up Fairy Tales, this is actually rather simpler, because this is a game that was really meant in mind for children around the ages of 4 to 7. And because it is simpler, we can see this is going to be the inventory. So for example, I'll go over why this is blank here in just a little bit or so as we start a story. This is going to be the book of fairy tales that we need to open, and we need to start a story depending on where we are at. This is the in-game map. So if we ever get lost, we can consult this map here, or we can talk to Bookworm and he will tell us where we actually need to go. This is the volume, so we can adjust the volume, turn it down or turn it up. We can save the game here at any time we want. We can continue playing. This is going to list the version of the game, which is version 1.000. And it's going to go over the cast, the crew of the crew, and that worked on the game, basically. This question mark will tell us basically what I pretty much went over. This is the things in the menu. So we can go left. So we're going to go to town and we're going to start a story. Now the splits here do not really matter. That's not really relevant. I'm not going to show that off. I'm not going to do a run here. This is going to be up mainly because this is going to be the category that I'm going to basically be tackling next and trying to improve my time. So let's head up here and we'll start the Cinderella story. The music, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is also a mix of Mozart and Beethoven. One more thing I need to point out. We learn that this mischievous creature, quote unquote, is mixing up the stories so they cannot have good endings. And we will find out his motive as we progress, get to the end of the game, basically, on why he mixes up the stories. Okay. This is going to be one of three reset points when you start speedrunning and learning this game. This is one of 3 reset points that you can potentially have to reset a run at. But in this case, however, this is the perfect spot for the pumpkin, for the Cinderella story. Before we head right, however, I'm going to go down and talk about the second potential spot that the pumpkin can spawn at. This is where the pumpkin can sometimes spawn at, depending on where you're at in the game and what RNG is going to do. This is southwest of Bookworm's house. This is west. So we're going to continue going right here. When we get to the Magic Bean story, the Magic Bean will be the first thing you find because you have to give it to Jack so he can grow the magical beanstalk by his house. This is going to be where you want the Magic Bean to be because it is the closest route back to town. If the Magic Bean is anywhere but here, that is reset number 2. This is number 2 of 3 times you may have to reset in a run. Before we return the pumpkin to Cinderella and the fairy godmother, I'm going to show off 2 more potential spots this pumpkin can spawn at. we're going to continue going right here. This spot here is one of 2 more spots this pumpkin can potentially spawn at, and in the game this is considered northeast of Bookworm's house. This is not what you're going to want, because you're having to go all the way northeast and then go all the way back west and give the pumpkin to the fairy godmother. Let's go up. This is Soda Lake. This is also where the pumpkin can potentially spawn at, and this is the second spot you do not want the pumpkin to spawn at because of how much longer it will take you to get back to town. So for right now, let's keep going and give the pumpkin back to the fairy godmother and continue the Cinderella story. I'm going to go over movement here real quick as we head back to town. The movement of your character is limited to a 4x4 tile, and this, in simple layman terms, is really slow, as you're seeing here, basically. I doubt that Sierra took into consideration that people would speedrun this game, such as myself, for example. Alright, so we have returned the pumpkin to the fairy godmother, and so Cinderella can go to the ball. Bye-bye, Cinderella. This is the troll named Bookend. And he's very creepy. Alright, we will go get the slipper back for the prince. For Prince Charming. The beauty of this next drop we're going to go over in just a little bit or so. This is where the slipper will constantly be at all times, anytime and every time you do the Cinderella story. So in other words, this is not RNG based. That slipper will always be there every time. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show off the original path that I took when I started running this game, and I did not know this until later. Normally, I would go up and go left. But however, instead of doing that, I'll go do this. I'll actually do this just to kind of demonstrate, show off why I don't do this anymore. The reason I don't do this route anymore is pretty simple, basically. Because we're here, we're going to go all the way to the left here and give the slipper to Prince Charming, and then we're going to walk all the way back to the right, thus rendering a longer cutscene and more dialogue, and dialogue we kind of have to get through either way anyway. But in this case, it's just walking all the way to the left and all the way to the right. There is no extra dialogue we need to get through here in this case. Again, I'm just going to go slow here. I'm not going to go too fast or anything, because this is just basically for tutorial purposes. This is where I typically split after finishing a story, is when that pops up. And sometimes I'm a little bit late to splitting there, given my split key is mapped differently. I don't have a foot pedal or anything like that to go faster there. Alright, I know this is a little bit out of order, but I want to do this just for the sake of going over RNG and going over RNG of this next story here called Jack and the Beanstalk. I'm going to go over the magic bean if I've not already. I'm going to go over the magic bean and the axe. And I'll also go over the spots of where they can potentially spawn at. So we're going to go down. Normally my first instinct is to go down here and look by this bridge. If the magic bean is not here, reset the run. Because the farther you have to go for the drops, the more time you lose. And ultimately, in the end, that's really not worth it. So in this case, for tutorial purposes, I am glad it's not here because this is what I wanted to showcase. We're going to click on this river for giggles. The water tastes like cherries here. Okay, so the magic bean is not here. So we are going to go... The next spot the magic bean can spawn at, it's going to have basically 4 spots it can spawn at. And I'll go down here after this screen here in just a moment. So we're going to go down here. Aha. So... it's not here either. This is the second of 4 spots the magic bean can potentially spawn at. However, that's not what we want. I'll go over the axe drop in just a moment. Whoops. Aha. So, this is 3 of 4 spots this magic bean can spawn at. And this is really not what we want. We do not want... really, 3/4 of the spots this can spawn at, we do not want 3 of them. We want only 1 of them. And while I'm down here real quick, I'm going to also go over the axe drop. This is another spot, 4 of 4, where the magic bean can potentially spawn at. But however, I'm glad we did not have to go all the way close to the mines here. One more thing I want to show off here, just kind of for giggles, as I'm basically continuing this story casually. Wicked Annoy, bookend. And this is funny. I wish we could go in the cave and see, we're in the cave, but however, since we have not finished the stories yet, we cannot enter the cave. That's funny. I love doing that. I love doing that to annoy Bookend. It's hilarious. Alright. Anyway, let's go ahead and head back to town and give the magic bean to Jack so he can grow the beanstalk in his yard. Alright, we have given the magic bean to Jack. Now, we are going to go talk to him again. And the music turned sinister there for a reason. And we will find that reason out in just a minute. We're going to go up to this mountain here, and he's going to tell us, oh no, the giant is coming. Where is my axe? I have seemed to have misplaced it. Alright, now, my first instinct for when we get past the part of talking to Jack about the axe, I'm going to look down here first. And the reason is because this is one of 3 to, I believe, or actually 4 spots the axe can spawn at. This is the spot that we want because it is the shortest route back to the mountaintop, and we can reach Jack pretty much just that way. I will show you 3 more spots the axe can potentially spawn at. This is 2 of 4. This is 3 of 4. So in this case, the axe was down here by the mine. Before we give it back to him, however, I'm going to show off and showcase 1 more spot this can spawn at. Do 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 do. This spot right here by the bridge is where the axe can potentially spawn. The first spot I showed off where you start the Snow White story is where you want the axe to be for optimal RNG purposes. The reason is because it's the shortest route back to the mountaintop to talk to Jack, give it back to him, and finish the story. So as you can see, even for a simple game like this, it is very RNG heavy. So now we have the axe, we're going to give it back to Jack. And he's going to cut the beanstalk down. And bingo. Boom. I figured I'm already right here. Let's go ahead and start the Snow White story. After finishing the 2 stories of Cinderella and Jack and the Beanstalk, we do not have to worry about RNG anymore, because from that point onwards, it's basically all execution. Getting through the dialogue boxes with all the characters as fast as you can. Hence, there's a ton of mashing that goes into a game like this. It's wild how that is, isn't it? Alright, so we're gonna escort Snow White back to her cottage because Bookin did the dirty deed of getting her lost. So, we're gonna go left here. I'm faster than you, Snow White. We're gonna go down here because this is the shortest route back to her cottage, and then we're going to turn left here. We're not going to go right yet, and the right path will be reserved for when we start the story of Beauty and the Beast. Now we have escorted Snow White back to her cottage. Welcome back. Where have you been? We were worried about you. Hi, Ace. Goodbye. Alright, so we're going to go left here, and we're going to go up. The reason is because this is going to be the optimal path to the next, kind of the next scene of this story. Here we're going to learn, oh no, they think Snow White is dead, but in reality, she basically just ate a poisoned apple. So we are instructed by the dwarves, please find Prince Silver and escort him back here. So we are going to do exactly that. This is funny. Nice day for walking, isn't it? What happened to you? Why are you tied to that tree? He's kind of clumsy. That and kind of gullible. You don't have to attack me. Okay. Alright. I want to show off this next part here. I want to try to click close to the tree as I can, and the reason is because we can do this. Whoops. Click the rope. I want to click as close to the rope as I can. Get as close to the rope as I can, so I can just go click, untie him, bingo. Because the further you have to walk, the longer the cutscene for that, the more time you lose. Alright, so we have rescued Prince Silver, and we're going to escort him to the area where we just talked to the dwarves. Bye-bye. Alright, so we're going to go up. We're going to escort Prince Silver to Snow White and the dwarves. Pity your dad. You have to kiss her. Yes. Oh, the dialogue of this game is corny. It's very corny, but it's funny. Hooray! Snow White is alive! Alright, so we have finished the Snow White story, and we are going to move on to the Bremen Town Musicians. We're going to escort the rooster back to town. We're going to go up here, and the reason is because it's actually faster to do this than it would be to get extra dialogue with Bookworm. All the characters, all the animals will say this is not the way we need to go. But however, this is actually faster because if we went right by Bookworm's house, then we will get extra dialogue, and in this case that's not exactly what we're looking for. So now we are going to go rescue the other animals, and the next animal we must rescue for this story is the cat. But we find that the cat is in this tree because Bookin scared him. He is a big bully. Meow. Alright, we're going to escort the cat back to town. So I'm going to escort the cat to the crossroads. Yep, we will find the doggy. And we will learn that the dog's name is actually Scott. So we're going to go down here, and we're going to go right, because this will be the fastest path to Scott the dog, where we find him in the woods. Yep, Scott the dog. I thought you might be bookend. He is fun to chase, actually. One mistake that I've made in the past is because I hold the enter key for a large duration of this run, I can accidentally trigger additional dialogue with Scott the dog or any of the other characters, and right-clicking on something is also a mistake I have made in the past. That and clicking on the Cherry River and Soda Lake. These are not things that we want to do, and the reason is because it takes us longer to unclick the right-click sequence and get back to what we need to do, where we're going, basically. So now we have rescued Scott the dog. We must go rescue the donkey, and we will go rescue him in just a little bit. Gray. So we're going to rescue Gray the donkey. Alright, so the path that I take to rescue Gray the donkey is I'm going to go left here, and I'm going to go down. The reason is because while there actually is another path that I can take to rescue Gray the donkey, however, I do not do that because it actually heavily manipulates the RNG and has made runs worse for me in the past. And so, thus, I actually do not do that. I actually have a commentated video on why I don't do that, and it's on my Twitch page. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click around the donkey and try to get as close to him as I can to shorten the cutscene where we rescue him. So we are going to go escort Gray the donkey to the crossroads. Excuse me. Alright, we're going to escort the animals to the shelter over at Bremen. So we're going to escort the animals to Bremen to meet town musicians. But we're going to learn that path is actually closed. The path to Bremen is closed, and we'll learn that in just a moment. They are very loud. So now we are going to escort the animals to Bremen. Onwards. No grass, no places to run. I will here in a little bit, yeah. Alright, excuse me. I'll go get some tea. I'll be back. Oops, I forgot that I was muted. Sorry about that. So now we have finished all the stories, basically, and we have come to learn that the book with all the stories is missing. And for that part, we do not have to talk to Bookworm there, because I already know the book's missing, and I know where it's at. So now we're going to make our way to the mines, essentially, where we were trying to kind of poke at Bookend a little bit, because it's actually funny to do that. Okay, so just out of habit, before we go in the mines, I'm going to do this. I have saved the game. I normally run this on DOSBox because it is a DOS game, obviously. And anytime I've done runs, and I do runs of this, I save it here and quit and pause my timer. And the reason is because if I were to go straight into the cave without saving the game at all, not long after I enter the mines, the game will abruptly softlock or crash, and I do not know or understand why this is a thing that happens. But out of habit's sake, I did go ahead and save the game. So, fingers crossed, let's enter the mine and see if the glitch persists. Let's do this. Now we find Bookend in the mines with a fire going and trying to throw the book in the fire. I wonder how he called him all the way from there. I really do. He's going to try to reason with him, be like, can I have my book back, please? He's like, no. He tries to plead with him one more time, but then he's going to do this. Roar. Take that. He gets fearsome, and he's really a cool dragon. Here we're going to find out why he did these things. They really are wonderful adventures, actually. Okay, so it did not crash in the mines. This is a note I need to make. Well, since we finished helping Bookworm out, get the stories resolved, we're no longer needed here, and we can go back to the library. And did we pick out a book? Yes, we did. I found a great book. And ta-da! That is basically Mixed Up Fairy Tales in a nutshell. And here we're going to get the credits and we're going to listen to the music. All right, that is Mixed Up Fairy Tales. Hopefully this was a informative and very helpful tutorial. If there are questions, I will try to answer them. I do have a Discord. I can post the link in there as well. And I'll see y'all next time and have a good night. Thank y'all for watching.